Now that you've chosen your animal from the podcast, listened to their story, and have drawn them a bit, you can start thinking about what emotions and journey the characters are going through. Think about the most important events in the story. Remember the structure of story. Once upon a time, and every day, then one day, and because of this, until finally, and ever since that day. Today, we'll talk about some basic ideas of storytelling, specifically cinematography. Cinematography is the art of visual storytelling with a camera and film. So how do you start telling a story visually? For me, cinematography is about two things: giving information and showing emotion. And in film, you do this through sequences the camera records, which we call shots. The simplest rule in cinematography is this: the camera shows what is important. So, what's important? 1, what the audience should feel, and 2, what the audience should know. If somebody is late, we can show the character looking at their watch in a panic. Or if we already know what the deadline is, we can show a clock. Or we can show them watching as the plane they're supposed to be on flies off. But again, the camera tells us what is important. And as a general rule, the bigger something is on screen, the more important it is. So we talk about different types of shots in terms of how much they show. A wide or long shot generally shows the overall view of a scene. If it starts the scene, it's usually called the establishing shot. Is the setting a castle, a tree, a library, a town pump? It tells us the environment the character will be in. This is where your research into your animal's environment will pay off. A full shot shows the head-to-toe view of a character. It's closer than a wide, and we can start to see more details on the character. It's less about expressions and more about body language. Are they happy? Sad? If this is at the beginning of a story, this tells us how a character starts off feeling. We can also see how characters relate to each other. Think of walking into a room and seeing how people are positioned. A medium shot, for humans, this is about midway up, is good for showing characters interacting with objects or with other characters. A close-up can be on a character or on an important object. If it's a character, this is where we're close enough to see their expression. And if this is an object, a close-up can show us important details we couldn't see from further away. Maybe it's a special key for a lock, or a door, an important letter. For your animal, it can be important detail about how that animal behaves. And just as important as what we show is how we show it, the camera angle. These are very basic ideas, so you'll find exceptions, but generally, high angles often make the character look small and feel less powerful. It can also convey more information about where characters and objects are. In contrast, filming someone on a low angle can make them look heroic. It can also give us information we wouldn't see otherwise. You can combine an angle with any of the previous types of shots. So you can have a high wide shot that shows the top of buildings, or a high medium shot that shows the character studying a map. In film, changing from one camera setup to another camera setup is referred to as a cut. We can cut closer to give the audience more information. We can cut away to see someone's reaction, or even cut to show the passage of time. Show a house in the sun and cut to the same house buried in snow. We can cut from one place to another to show that the events are happening at the same time. Editing is figuring out the order of shots and how quickly these shots change. I drew these to show how much the shot order can change the feeling of a story. The last thing I'll talk about are camera moves. They won't apply as much for this project, but basically the camera itself can move around. A camera dolly is when the camera physically moves closer to the subject. A zoom is when the lens is adjusted so the subject becomes larger. A track, or tracking shot, is when the camera moves horizontally. A pan is when it rotates horizontally. Think of a tracking shot as what you see looking out of a car, while a pan is turning your head to look. A camera can also tilt up and down, and if the camera itself moves up and down, it's called a crane or a boom. I know this is a lot of information, and I will be the first one to tell you it takes a long time to learn. But hopefully, this can help you get started thinking about how stories are told visually. See if you can recognize these the next time you watch something.